Hi, I am Maria Fernanda and today I am going to talk about language curriculum development. What is it? How do we currently understand it? And a quick historical background about the development of language curriculum until now. First of all, I want to highlight the importance of language learning with this quote from Nelson Mandela. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. This is because a language is not just a tool to make business and travel somewhere else. Language calls the deepest aspects from our sociological and psychological matters. And that's the reason why we have to develop and complete a multidimensional curriculum in every single case, keeping in mind the whole picture from the population we are teaching. Language learning is one of the most demanded educational services all around the world. We can see thousands of children, youth, and adults looking for an institute or taking classes as part of their study programs. Teachers and educational centers have the challenge to find a way to carry that process up and successful learning and take the people into the group of people who speak and understand a specific language. In our case, the most common and needed language to learn and teach is English, which is my second language. Now we have to know what exactly the word curriculum means. And contrary to what many people might think, curriculum is not only a ton of list of subjects we are going to see in the class. According to Jack Richards, curriculum development focuses on determining what knowledge, skills, values, and students learn, what experiences should be provided to bring about intended learning outcomes, and how teaching and learning in schools or educational systems. Language curriculum development refers to the field of applied linguistics and addresses the issues. It describes an interrelated set of processes that focuses on the design, revising, and evaluating language programs, which means that we have to capture in the curriculum a big group of detailed guidelines, since we have to plan from the topics, the way to transmit them, the whole learning process, tracking the issues and progress until the assessment and goals checking. The curriculum has evolved from a simple syllabus design, which is a part of a curriculum, but it's not the whole information we have to capture. The 20th century was the time frame in which we can observe big changes in how we understand this process. Many methods have come and gone in the pursuit of the best and fastest language teaching method. The first approach, and sadly what some traditional educational centers keep using, is what we know as the grammar translation method, which is a repetition and memorization method centered in translating sentences from books and songs and explaining its grammar. The method consists in dictation, lecture, and rewriting specific lines. This method was based in the Latin and Greek way to bring knowledge and must be used until 1900 year, when we have a different approach to teach and learn languages. The direct method, developed in Germany between 90s and 30s, was a spoken-centered process trying to contrast with its ancestors. It emulates the first language learning process, teaching vocabulary through images, mimic, and objects. The grammar was transmitted by examples and repetition, bringing a natural way to deduct the sentence structures and prime the practice by asking and answering questions. Then we have the structural method, widely used in the United States between 30s and 60s. It was based on a detailed examination of the speech as an oral-based methodology, beginning with an initial orientation about the language, then establishing correct study habits, and avoiding inaccurate language expressions. The knowledge is brought gradually and every step prepares for the next. It comes from concrete to abstract, tries to generate interest, and uses different ways to teach. The direct method is as well known as the traditional method, which is used by many traditional schools. Other approaches were developed between 20s and 70s, called reading method, audiolingual method, and situational method. And as their name says, those were specific focus methods that relays all the responsibility to learn a language in a specific skill and repetition. That's the reason why they are outdated or limited to using some specific cases. For example, a person who needs to travel soon might use a situational method to learn useful sentences to specific situations in a restaurant or at a hotel. We went all the way until we arrived at the currently used method, which is the communicative approach that contemplates all the language's skills and teaching methodologies used during the language teaching development in a dynamic and need-focused way. Today, to design and perform a curriculum in some specific study center, we have a list of aspects to check. According to Frank Tusi, there are teaching goals to accomplish by a structure of concepts that board the language teaching process. First of all, we have to know or establish the principles of the teaching process. That means the group of philosophical and conductual bases in which a study center provides the knowledge. What are the objectives and ways from the school or institute we are working with? All the teachers and directives must be aligned with this philosophical basis. Then we have to do an environmental analysis to the population we are providing knowledge. There are constraints that lead the curriculum about content and goals we have. Aspects to keep in mind are the age, previous abilities, expectations, and interests from the students. The teachers must be trained in the principles and the curriculum. They must be confident, committed, and good models. We also have to know who is going to do materials and assessments. That guide us to know the situational aspects like the resource available, the needs of the course, the meeting place, is it virtual or face-to-face, times, tools, and intensity. As a dynamic process, we have to track the needs and correct on the fly, always asking for feedback from students and teachers. The principles, environment, and need analysis guide the content and sequencing, which must have a determined format, and finally, a way to monitor and assess the learner's progress.